Welcome to the GetRealWealth.com radio show, where wealth means a lot more than just building a second stream of income. Listen and learn how 70% of the millionaires in America used real estate to create a lifestyle that most people only dream about. A lifestyle that includes good health, family, romance, travel, charity, and all the other parts of a balanced life. Now, here is your host, real estate investor and mentor, Steve Davis.
Good afternoon and welcome to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I am your host, Steve Davis. We are live today. Had some problems yesterday and was unable to do the show live, so we played a best of. But I am live today, and I'm going to discuss what I promised you yesterday, which is talking about associative conditioning and how it affects the real estate investor. And I'm going to give you a tool to start, a mental tool, to start controlling your associative conditioning. We all have it. It's just a natural thing that occurs. There's nothing, associative conditioning is neither good nor bad. It can be either. If you choose to control it, just like I talk about with the ego, if you choose to control it, it can be a very, very powerful tool. So I'm going to share those ideas with you. I want to start first by talking about the number two way to pull off deals. The number one way is syndication. The vast majority, all these apartment complexes we're buying and going to buy are put together in a syndication. This is where 10 people, 20 people, 60 people come together, pool their funds, all members of the group, and they pool their funds and go buy a 2, 3, 4, 500 apartment complex, 500 unit apartment complex. And that is, because there's so many people involved in that makes it the number one way to do deals. The second best comes from a question I got off of Bigger Pockets. If you're not familiar with Bigger Pockets, it's a real estate investor forum. BiggerPockets.org, I think it's .org. But just Google Bigger Pockets. Let's put it this way. It's big enough it's going to come up at the top. So check out Bigger Pockets. It's a good place to read about investing. You can even get some answers there. Be very cautious, though. A forum does not replace being a member of a group. I know that sounds like a sales pitch for my group, but it just doesn't. There's a lot of wrong answers. There's a lot of almost right answers. So you got to be careful that you've got somebody on your team, a human being, not just a computer, that has ate, slept, and drank real estate for the last 15, 20 years. For me, it's 30 years. You need somebody on your team. The other thing that I'm constantly bringing up on Bigger Pockets is that real estate, I'm going to use the word networking, but be very cautious that you don't associate this to network marketing, multi-level marketing. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that real estate is all about networking. I talked to a guy today. He's getting ready to do an IRO, independent real estate owner deal, where he's going to buy it all by himself, probably get himself 100 plus units. And he's not doing a syndication. It's all his money. So one man, one deal. And he needed a bank. I sent him to the bank that has financed apartments for me. See, even he, a multimillionaire, recognizes the power of networking and being a member of a group. Because he was rich before he joined. He joined because he understands it's not what you know, it's who you know. And he didn't know enough people in the business, so he joined Real Wealth Academy because we do. And I sent him the banker, and it looks like they're going to pull off a deal. So don't confuse a forum with real networking, with real building your team. Forums are fun. You can get some knowledge out of them, but you're not going to replace having a mentor. But anyway, this guy's question is, he bought a house for $320,000. It's now worth $560,000. That's the comparable after repaired value. The nice thing about his home is it's in perfect shape. So he's got $240,000 worth of equity in there. Let me do a quick calculation here. Sorry if I go dead for a second. But he's 560 times 0.8, 448. We know he owes less than 320 on it. Let's assume you put 30% down, 90,000. We'll say 100,000. So he's going to walk away with close to $250,000 by refinancing his home. Now, the poor and the middle class are jumping up and down, going, oh no, you pay off your home. You don't ever want to refinance your home. That's the dumbest idea in the world. Let me tell you something. I don't know a multimillionaire that has their home paid in full. It's dead equity. We make so much money with our real estate that we don't care if we pay 4%, 5% interest on our home, and it's less than that right now, and about to get less if I'm reading the market right. Why would you care if you're paying 4% on your house if you're making 15, 20% on your investments? It would be totally stupid to pay off your house. That'd be dead equity. It wouldn't be doing anything for you. Whereas you can refinance your house, go buy some rent property, and that rent property pays all their mortgages and your mortgage, and leaves you some money for romance, travel, whatever you want to do. So in answer to the question, Corey, of is this a good idea? It's a genius idea, Corey. Get it done. Get that $250,000, that $250,000 out of that house. Right now it's dead equity, and go buy yourself 10 rent houses. Yeah, he could get 10, maybe a little less than that, 8 or so, 7 or 8 rent houses that pay for themselves and pay for your home. You no longer have a mortgage payment, and you've got 7, 8, 9, 10 houses building wealth for you and your family. So it is absolutely the right idea. Now, the reason I wanted to cover this first is because I must have gotten, my son brought it up. He goes, you've answered that question 10 times in 10 days. It is on people's minds, because when they look at where their wealth is, guess where it is? It's in their home. And they're going, I don't have any money. I don't have any money. Yes, you do. It's just dead equity sitting in your home. So those of you with large amounts of equity, you need to take a course like mine so that you understand why we never pay our homes off, and what we're doing when we refinance our homes and pull the money out. What are we doing with that money? You need to know that so that you don't fall middle class beliefs, middle class results. Millionaire beliefs, millionaire results. It's just a different way to think. Okay, let's start talking about associative conditioning. How this relates to real estate is there is a tremendous amount of negative associations to investing in real estate. People say, I don't want real estate to consume a bunch of time. I don't want to deal with tenants. I don't want to deal with toilets. I don't want to deal with taxes. They associate pain to owning a business or owning real estate. And you got to understand that that was conditioned into you. You're not controlling that. It was conditioned into you, and we'll talk about how when we come back from the break here on the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. You can call me at 281-558-5738. That's 281-558-KSEV. You're listening to AM 700, the voice of Texas. Thanks for listening. Did you know that 70% of the millionaires in America used real estate as their main investment vehicle? You can and should have some real estate in your portfolio. This is Steve Davis, host of the GetRealWealth.com radio show. Starting with bad credit and no money at age 27, I began investing in real estate. By 30, I was retired. I will be explaining this at a free 2-hour introductory workshop this month. If you would like to attend, go to GetRealWealth.com. That's GetRealWealth.com. Thank you for listening. Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. Remember, you can always find us online at GetRealWealth.com. The free workshop is there. I talk about it, and then people email me. Please don't email me about the free workshop. I appreciate the email, but I can't reserve you a seat for that. Go to GetRealWealth.com. In the upper right-hand corner, it says free workshop. That's a 2-hour workshop that explains the mentoring and our 2-day class and things like that. So check that out at GetRealWealth.com. If you've got a question for me right now, please pick up the phone and call 281-558-5738. 281-558-5738. Or you can email me a question at asksteve@getrealwealth.com. asksteve@getrealwealth.com. Okay, so in the last segment, I talked about how people have negative associations to owning a business or owning real estate, and that keeps them stuck in their jobs. They associate, remember, everything we do in life is to either gain pleasure or avoid pain. The problem is that we will do 3 times as much to avoid pain as we will to gain pleasure. So when you think about owning a business or owning real estate, most people think of hard work, late hours, responsibility, and then they think about what happens when you fail. And they think about losing their home, losing their car. I mean, they have all these associations that keep them from starting a business. And you got to understand, those are not your associations. They were given to you. And there's the problem. Who gives them to you? Who gives you negative associations? As a rule, people who have failed or have committed to failing. What do I mean by committed to failing? There's some people that just don't care. I would have never believed this. When I was 16, I thought everybody wanted to be a millionaire. I thought everyone wanted to be in shape. I thought everyone wanted to have a long-term marriage. They don't. They just don't. They don't believe it exists. They don't believe it's right. They believe it's too much work, too much pain, blah, blah, blah. So the first thing you've got to do is understand that some people don't give a crap. They really don't. About their health, about their relationships, about money. They're just going to go through life, and whatever will be, will be. That's their strategy. I'm hoping you're different than that if you're listening to this show. You want to take control of your life. And to do that, you've got to control your associative conditioning. You've got to control what you associate pain and pleasure to. See, for me, this is going to sound funny, but do you know one of my major motivators for being financially free? Traffic. I hate traffic. When I was working that 60 hours a week and I was commuting over an hour a day through Houston traffic, this was before they widened I-10, that was a nightmare to me. Sitting there, wasting my life, watching the clock tick for 2 hours a day. Think about this. At 2 hours a day times, there's 52 weeks, and 5 days a week times 5, that's 520 hours wasted on the road. We're awake about 16 hours a day. So if you take 520 and divide it by 16 hours, that is 32 days a year that you are losing commuting. What could you do with an extra 32 days a year? Could you romance your wife a little more? Could you hit the gym? Could you travel a little more? 32 days, that's a month. A month of your life is being taken away from you because you chose not to be financially independent. You chose to work a 70-hour-week job that you commute a half hour, hour or two every day. Remember, those are choices. Sorry if that comes across harsh, but that's what it is. See, I can't stand that. My wife gets so irritated with me because we'll be going to Lupe Tortillas on 99. I come up over that arch above I-10 and I see traffic. Oh, it's nasty. Oh, crap. Of course, I use harsher language than that. And she's, of course, blasting me, going, would you calm down? It's just 2 more blocks. 2 more exits, blah, blah, blah. But to me, that is ultimate pain. That loss of my life, sitting there in traffic. That motivates me. I have associated, by my choice, massive pain to having a job, massive pain to commuting, and I have associated massive pleasure to being financially independent. See, what I learned, and I got this from Tony Robbins, by the way, and Tony got it from somebody, and they got it from somebody, and they got it from somebody. No copyrightable material here. This is just, it's been out there. I just happened to have picked it up from Tony Robbins. You have to control your associative conditioning, because if you don't, then corporate America will control it. And the way they control it is through these incredible $1 million commercials that they put together. They get you to associate massive pleasure to cars, massive pleasure to bigger houses, clothes, jewelry, things like that. Remember, and then combine that with your ego being attached to those things, and guess what? You're in trouble. You're going to do everything in your power to get those things, all of which are useless. You're going to do everything in your power to get them, because your ego and your associative conditioning is pushing you towards those goals of corporate America. But when you take control of it, stop watching TV so much, and you start to get your ego and your conditioning, associative conditioning, to the right things, oh my gosh, you'll be amazed what lengths you will go to just to achieve financial freedom. Because achieving financial freedom is work. It's a lot of work. Is it worth it? Oh my God, yes. It is the second best feeling in the world. Second best feeling in the world. It's unbelievable. And the joy of being able to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, and so on, is, there's no other word for it. What's better than joy? I don't know anything that's better than joy. It is a joyful experience. When my daughter needs me, I'm there. My son needs me, I'm there. When Josie needs me, my wife needs me, I'm there. When it's time for romance, I'm available. It's wonderful. Anyway, but you can see how my psychology works. I associate massive pleasure to financial independence and massive pain to having a job dependence. And all the things that go with having a job make me sick. I can't stand it. Now, let me tell you something though. Do I have a job? I want to be very careful and very open about this. Transparent, I think, is the word. Do I have a job? Yes. I'm going to go to my office will be finished next week. I'm going to be there 40 plus hours a week. It's not a job. I love it. I had a guy who is not a client of mine, will not be a client of mine because another company threatened him if he joined my group. I spend a half an hour on the phone, maybe an hour, mentoring him. I don't care. I felt like I helped him during that hour conversation. And he said I did. So it made me feel great. Again, association. Helping others is pleasure. I get that response from him. It reinforces the association that helping other people is pleasure. All right, we'll talk more after the break. This is the GetRealWealth.com radio show, the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. When we come back, I'll talk about how associative conditioning can affect you negatively if you don't take control of it. This is AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas. Thanks for listening. 70% of the millionaires in America used real estate as their main investment vehicle. Listen to the GetRealWealth.com radio show to find out how you can do it too. Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. right here on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas. Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. We are talking about associative conditioning, and really, this is very closely related to the ego, because the ego is very easily manipulated by associative conditioning. So they're really interchangeable almost, but both of them can be very, very powerful tools if you use them, meaning don't let them use you. Don't let corporate America dictate what your ego is attached to. Don't let corporate America dictate what you associate pain to. You control those two things, and man, they push you forward towards your goals like you can't imagine. It's like jet fuel. It really is. It's like filling your car with jet fuel. I guess that wouldn't work too well. It's amazing, though. So anyway, let's talk about a negative way associative conditioning hits people that just about everybody can relate to, and it comes to food. Many people, when I was in the health club industry, and I was there for 5 years, many of the men and women that I talk to, because they pick on women on this on sitcoms all the time. I'll explain how in just a moment. They associate love to food. They associate love to food. As a result, they end up obese. And the reason is that they associate massive pleasure. What's more pleasurable than being loved? Not much. I don't know anything. So they associate pleasure, love, to food. How's this happen? You see it when you see a small child do something and is rewarded with a lollipop. Oh, you're so good, you did your ABCs, here's a lollipop. Oh, you're so good, you did your 1, 2, 3s, here's a lollipop. Can you see it happening? Over time, I saw it happen to one of the most good-looking, in-shape kids who lived down the street from me. Both of her parents are obese. They obviously have that conditioning. And when they were playing, when she was playing with my kids, and you got to understand, fit, trim, pure muscle, every time I was out there, they were handing her food. And not good food either. So not only did they associate love to food, they associated love to junk. I'm talking oatmeal cream pies, chocolate-covered cookies, chocolate-covered pretzels. I mean, I could see it happening because I'd already read this work, and I couldn't say anything because I didn't have rapport, and I was just like, I'm not giving my kids food like that. And guess where that girl is now? 70 pounds overweight, morbid obesity, and she's not even 30, probably mid-20s. Unbelievable. But it's happening. The other thing you've got to understand is food is a drug. What I mean by that is one of the definitions of drug is drugs is anything that changes the way you feel. And this is where they make fun of women on TV. They show the woman go out with her boyfriend, they get in a fight, they break up. What do they do when they get home? Grab a gallon of ice cream and eat it. Like that's funny. It's not funny. It's dangerous. They're using food, and they're teaching people to use food as a drug. to change the way you feel. Are you sad? Eat a gallon of ice cream. You feeling a little down today? Go get a dozen donuts. And the interesting thing is, it works. That's why it's so dangerous. All that sugar changes the way you feel. And people begin to associate, hey, if I feel bad, I just eat something, I'm all right. And it becomes an antidepressant for some people until they look in the mirror and go, holy crap, I'm depressed even more than I was before. That's associative conditioning in one of its simplest forms. And it happens in every aspect of your life. If you don't like something, start asking yourself why. And the answer to that will be your associative conditioning. You ask me why I don't like to have a job, because I don't want to be somewhere when I don't want to be there. I don't want to drive in traffic. I can name all my negative associations to having a job. Now here's the one I'm going to ask you. Why don't you own your own business? Why don't you own 20 rent houses? Now, be careful. Don't move to the BS. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough credit. I don't have enough time. All that's just BS. That's a lie. I'm not talking about lies right now. I'm talking about associative conditioning. What beliefs do you have about owning 20 houses? Isn't one of your beliefs that those people, that your tenants call you all the time? That every time a toilet breaks, you have to go fix it? Guess what? I've been at this for 30 years. I've never had a phone call after 5 o'clock in the afternoon or on a weekend, except for one time in 30 years, and that was when a building in one of my apartment complexes caught fire. And here's the entire conversation. Oh, is everybody okay? Good. Nobody was hurt. Good. Is the fire department there? Yes. Have you called our insurance company? Yes. Okay, thank you. Have a good day. Click. Whew, that was rough, people. That was rough. And let me tell you something about insurance. People are always complaining about insurance. I'm telling you, I want my units to burn down. I want everybody safe. But I was given, I don't know, $33,000 for that unit that burned down. I rehabbed 4 units with that $33,000. Fixed the one that was burned and had enough money left over to rehab 3 more units. But see, some of you have the associative conditioning that, oh, what if your house burns down? You want your houses to burn down. You get a public adjuster. You don't trust the insurance company. You get a public adjuster. If they don't match the public adjuster's number, you get an attorney, and they will match the public adjuster's number. So all this, if I've done my job, I hope you understand associative conditioning now. That if you get pleasure from something, cigarettes, here's another one. Why do people smoke? It causes cancer, massive amounts of cancer. It stinks. It reduces your energy levels. It makes you look stupid. I know that's ego-based, but it's still, nobody sits there and looks at you when you're having a cigarette and goes, you're cool. They're going, wow, what an idiot. Yet people do it. They associate what? The nicotine rush, the pleasure of the nicotine rush is worth more than all those other things to them. Gaining pleasure is worth more than the pain of looking stupid or possibly getting cancer, because there's the possibility you might not. That's another associative conditioning. So I hope you understand how dangerous associative conditioning can be, but the yin-yang, if it can be dangerous, what can it also be? A great benefit if you control it. If you control it. What you've got to do is get out there around people who are successful real estate investors and have done it correctly, and listen to them. incorporate their beliefs about investing. Let me give you an example of how I was conditioned to believe that rent property consumed a bunch of time. When I worked in the health club industry, I was 50, 60, 70 hours a week. I almost lost my wife because I was never around. I quit my job, went full-time into real estate investing, and at the end of my third year, I basically was still wholesaling. It was still easy as pie for me. I was flipping houses and didn't do a dang thing except write a check to close the deal and write a check to the contractor. That was it. So I was, by most people's definition, I was literally retired. But I didn't have any rent property yet. And one of my mentors asked me why. And I proceeded to explain to them. I said, look, man, I don't want to take on rent property. It's tenants, toilets, taxes, it's late night phone calls. I almost lost my wife 3 years ago because I was working so much. I don't want to get in that position again. I don't want to lose my wife. You've got to understand, I was talking to a guy who worked 2 hours a week and owned 40 or plus houses. 2 hours a week. And I'm telling him that rental real estate consumes a bunch of time. Well, Bruce was the guy's name. He didn't put up with that. He crushed me, and I'll tell you how he crushed me when we come back from the break here on the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. You can call me at any time, 281-558-5738, 281-558-5738. You're listening to AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas. Thanks for listening. Did you know that 95% of Americans fail to retire by age 65 and 36% are dead? The good news is that here at the GetRealWealth.com radio show, we know what the other 5% are doing. 70% of them own real estate. We are a mentoring group for new and experienced real estate investors. We will show you how to build a second stream of income that will allow you to retire at any age. I will be explaining this at a free 2-hour introductory workshop this month. If you would like to attend, please go to GetRealWealth.com. That's GetRealWealth.com. Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. At the end of the last segment, I told you that I had a mentor that was going to crush me, and this is how he did it. We were standing up on the 5th floor of a building just off of Westheimer. I mean, I could see Westheimer clearly from the 5th floor. And again, I've just told a guy who works 2 hours a week, oh, by the way, he vacationed out of the country 1 to 2 weeks a month. And he had 40, 50, 60 houses. I'm telling him that rental real estate consumes a bunch of time. Well, he made me look out the window up and down Westheimer and just ask the question, Steve, if rent property is so difficult, how come as far as your eye can see there's nothing but what? Rent property. Every strip shopping center, every convenience store, every apartment complex, tall building, short building, it's all rental real estate. And it made me realize that I had associated pain to owning real estate, in other words, long hours, late night phone calls, clogged toilets, all those things were more powerful than the pleasure of owning the real estate. I hope this is making sense. If you think about it deeply, it's actually not that hard to understand. But feel free to email me if you do have questions about this. It's asksteve@getrealwealth.com, asksteve@getrealwealth.com. So in that meeting, he reframed my associations. I bet you he didn't even know what associative conditioning was. He didn't know he was doing this, but he was doing it. He reframed what I associated pain to. I then began to look at his life and go, man, time for romance, time to vacation every month, plenty of money, plenty of wealth. That's what I want. Not flipping houses, not wholesaling. I want what this guy's got. And suddenly the association flipped. Suddenly I had massive associations of pleasure to owning rental real estate. if some of you are going, well, you tricked yourself. Yep, I sure did. And it made me millions of dollars. You can look at this as a trick on yourself. But doggone it, use it. It's a great trick to play on yourself. Getting yourself associated to fitness, getting yourself associated to romance, getting yourself associated to being financially independent. Yeah, I'll take those tricks all day. So understand, first, we'll do 3 times as much to avoid pain as we will to gain pleasure. So you have to have 3 times as many reasons to do something positive if you have negative associations to it. It takes work. An example I'll give you is, this was years and years ago when I was with another company. Someone came in, a lady, and she had massive reasons, just spilled her guts to me, why she didn't want to own rental real estate and why she just wanted to wholesale and flip. And I spoke with her at length before she even began to explain. In other words, there were hidden reasons. Some of them were personal. One of them was she had a relative that had owned rental real estate and failed. And they told her all about it and how awful the real estate was and why it was a problem. Well, luckily that had happened to me too, so I could relate to her, and I shared with her my story. I said, here's the problem. Why would you go to a failure and ask them how they did it? It doesn't make any sense. But didn't you just do that? You went to someone who failed at rental real estate and asked them how they did it. Because is anyone who fails at rental real estate going to walk up to you and say, man, I screwed that up. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't read enough. I didn't study enough. I ran those properties in the ground because I was an idiot. They're not going to say that, are they? What are they going to say? It was the market. It was the tenants. Yeah, that's the ticket. The tenants were the problem. The market changed. My bank was the problem. All BS. But that's what you're going to hear from failures. They say learn from other people's mistakes is wise. And I get that to a degree. But if the only source that you have, the reason that I hate it is because if you go out and learn everything that doesn't work, does that mean you know what does work? No, it just means you know everything that doesn't work. So learning from other people's failures is not effective. What if you learn from other people's successes? What if you learn 10 different ways to succeed? That's important. That's life-changing. So you got to control your ego. We've talked about that on many shows. You've got to control what you associate pain to. If you associate pain to owning rental real estate, you're not going to take action. You've got to recondition yourself by getting around successful real estate investors who have done it correctly and love it, if you're going to recondition yourself and be able to move forward, which is one of the big reasons why people join Real Wealth Academy. So there's my, if you will, speech on associative conditioning. Get control of it. Get control of it. Start associating massive pain to your current financial position. Most of you already have some pain to it. You don't like the financial position you're in. You don't like working 60, 70 hours a week, but you associate more pain to getting out of it than you do pleasure. And you've got to flip-flop that. If you're ever going to be financially independent, you have to associate massive pain to being broke all the time, to not being able to buy your kids the toys, the computers, the things they need, not being able to romance your wife, not being able to take her on that trip. You got to associate massive pain to that to get yourself to move forward on that goal of financial independence. There it is in a nutshell. Control, control, control of what you associate pain and pleasure to. And use pain, because it's 3 times as powerful as pleasure, to motivate yourself to take action. Okay, I hope all of that helped. Remember, if I went too fast, you can always podcast the show at realwealth.com, getrealwealth.com, I mean. And you can also email me. And why do I have the feeling if I get an email on this, I'm going to have to call you? Occasionally, if the question is too long, I'm going to call you. But most I can answer by email. So feel free to email me. Ask Steve at getrealwealth.com. Ask Steve at getrealwealth.com. Let's see if we got what do we got? A couple more minutes? Okay, I got some email questions here. This first one comes from Stephen, looking for investors in the East Texas area, looking to add to their portfolio. Okay, I'm just reading one sentence out of this. Is a Stephen, that's why you join a real estate investor group like us, if not us, another group that looks for, because you're a wholesaler based on this. Yeah, you're wholesaling. You need a buyer's list, and that's what this question is about. The best way to get a buyer's list, hands down, is to join a real estate investor group in your area. You're in East Texas. I don't know the names of the groups out there, but I guarantee you they're there. Go to meetup.com. I think it's meetup.com or org. Meetup, just Google it, Meetup. You'll find it. Look for meetup groups. Then go to nationalreia.org. nationalreia.org. Most of the clubs in the United States are listed at that website. Check it out. Find a club, join it, build your buyer's list, then go look for deals. Because based on the rest of your email, you've got deals and nobody to buy them. That's because you did it backwards, Stephen. You don't go look for deals first. You look for buyers first. Once you've got your list of 30 or 40 buyers, then you go look for the deals that they told you they wanted. Okay. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you've got a question for me, email me. It's asksteve@getrealwealth.com. asksteve@getrealwealth.com. You're listening to AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas.
This has been the GetRealWealth.com radio show. Please remember that this show is for entertainment purposes only and should not be construed as legal, tax, or investing advice. Always get a professional opinion before making any investment decision. To find out about the mentoring and consulting at Real Wealth Academy, visit GetRealWealth.com and attend one of our free introductory workshops on real estate investing. That's GetRealWealth.com. Thanks for listening and have a great rest of your day.